Isn't Christianity just a psychological crutch? Christianity is only for weak people who cannot handle things in life. Do you agree with that? Yes or no? You guys say no? I agree with it. Oh, absolutely. Christianity is for weak people. It's for wimps. People like me and like you. Go to Matthew chapter 11. Look what Jesus says. Be careful, those of you who said, no, it's okay to be strong. We'll see. Look what Jesus says in verses 28 through 30. Come to me, all of you who are strong, intelligent, successful, who can handle everything on your own. Is that what Jesus says? What does he say? Come to me, all of you who are what? Weary and burdened. And Jesus says, I will give you rest. Hello? The world says, come to me. Only if you're strong. Only if you have your act together. Only if you can do things yourself. The world says, come to me. I'll accept you. You see, the world doesn't want wimps. The world doesn't want weak people. Men, you can't show your emotions in the world. You got to be strong. Don't let them see you cry. Don't let them see you sweat. That's what the world says. Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. This is the yoke right here. The rabbis used to refer to the yoke of the law, the yoke of God's teaching. Jesus says, take my yoke. He says, learn from me. He says, for I'm gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Jesus says, for my yoke is easy as compared to the world. And he says, my burden is light as compared to the world. Listen to me. It's when we come to the end of ourselves that we come to the beginning of God. I don't like to be weak. I don't like to be weary and burdened. I like my life to go like this. How about you? But that's not reality, friends. We all go through this tough thing called life. And we all need help, and we all need a helper. And Jesus says, if you're weak and burdened, it doesn't disqualify you. It qualifies you for coming to Jesus. Don't ever be ashamed of your weakness. Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Verse 9. You know the Apostle Paul? He was feeling some serious weakness. He was dealing with what we believe is malaria. He had eye disease. He was being abused by false teachers. Even the churches he planted, the Christians were turning against him. He had this thorn in his side. I believe it was a combination of all of that. And Paul, 3 times in verse 8, said, Lord, take this problem away from me. What did the Lord say to him? Verse 9, nope. But here's the good news, Paul. My grace is sufficient for you. And he said, my power is made perfect in what? Weakness. Is Christianity a psychological crutch? It's not an unhealthy psychological crutch. It's the most healthy crutch there is, because your crutch is Christ. And we all need that, because his grace is sufficient. Paul says, therefore, I'm going to boast all the more gladly about my what? Weaknesses. Why, Paul? So that Christ's power may rest on me. That's why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. Why, Paul? For when I am weak, then what? I'm strong. Any of you been feeling weak this past week? week, this past week? Good. Here's my question. Who have you been going to? The world doesn't want you in your weakness. Christ says, come to me. Don't try to carry your own burdens. That yoke is too heavy. It'll crush you. You need the King of the universe who says, I'll carry it for you. In fact, he says, give me your burdens and stresses. I'll give you my yoke. He says, my yoke is easy and light. I'd rather have that. How about you? Amen.